We're on a mission to rid the world of bad video.
Bye-bye.
This is the DV Show.
Target in range.
Bad video sucks.
Welcome to another live edition of the DV Show podcast. Welcome aboard. Today is going to be a really good day because we, again, are talking on the topic of finding work in video production. My name is Brian. Thank you for joining us today once again. This is going to be a lot of fun. I love being live with you here on LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X. Apparently, I'd like to talk about my website, but it's down right now, but that's okay. It'll be back up again because I have another website to talk to you about today on the subject of finding work in video production. And as you probably already know from watching us, listening to us since 2005, we are on a mission here to rid the world of bad video content. And this mission starts with ensuring that video professionals, you, the architects of visual storytelling, are placed in roles where your skills can be best utilized and appreciated. This job market right now absolutely sucks. And I want to reassure you that it's not your imagination. The job market is absolutely bonkers right now. So even when you've got great skills and tons of experience, which I know many of you do, many of you have the skills it takes, because in today's job market, it's just not about who you know or what you know. There's a whole bunch of other things that are going on behind the scenes. And first and foremost, big companies have made huge layoffs, creating a surge of competition. And then there are these ghost jobs that are going on, these positions that seem available but aren't. So there's all sorts of job scams happening. And on this podcast this week, again, we're talking about finding work in video production. I want to talk about being strategic and staying ahead of your competition, because with the right approach, you can turn these challenges that you are having into some real opportunities. And today we have a really cool guests coming on the show. It's Michael Brown from Seymour Mac Productions. Now, he was a video professional who was faced with so much adversity, so much crap that went on in his life, that he swam above, got some air, and is a successful video production person. So today we're going to talk with him. But first, I want to tell you about the things that are going to get you work. And I think our website is down right now, but that's okay. I want to talk about our sister site called fastergig.com. And I built this with my own money, my own time. I built this with some developers, and because I'm really involved in the video production community. Not only am I an administrator, I'm a top video production voice on LinkedIn. I'm an administrator and a moderator with Will and Orson over at the Video Editors Group. And there's a lot of people that, I'm totally involved in video production. And I know it really hurts to get a job today, and especially in the video production world. So I want to teach you some strategies, how to stay ahead of your competition, what to do. Michael is here in the studio today to talk about some of that. But before we get into him, let's talk about Faster Gig. Again, I built this just for you guys and gals and anyone in the video production industry. And let's bring that back up here again. Not only is it a job board, but it's a smarter method. It actually teaches you a method that helps you get remote video editor jobs and hybrid video editor jobs 10 times faster. Not only video editor, but anything in the video production community. But it's more industry rather, but it's more video editor. So let me just go through this website just a little bit. So every Sunday we fill this thing up with jobs. And right now we have 387 of them that are waiting for you to apply. And once you sign up, it's for free. You get access to all of these jobs. They are vetted to some extent, not all of them, but to some extent they are, especially the high paying ones. And that is important because that goes to show you that there's no scams. Then, we of course have the method that's going on here. It's going to teach you how to get a job 10 times faster, the ones that you find in here. But I also want to just kind of point out the tips. And every week we have an anonymous recruiter who gives us jobs that she finds that her agency cannot handle. So she gives us this entire list. We also have big lists of managers that are hiring right now and a whole bunch of big lists that we distribute to members of this community. And if you're looking for work, this is the website to go on, especially if you're a video professional, because it's totally for you. We have some tools on here: Loop CV, Lazy Apply, Volna, and all of this is pretty much automated tools that you can use. It does utilize AI so you can find work. And I would highly recommend looking at some of these tips as well. I get some feedback from a couple of people for the last couple of days, especially, what a video editor's resume should look like, networking, power of a personal recommendation. There's all sorts of tips on here to excel your career within the video editing community and within the video editing industry. So why would you not take advantage of that? So go check it out right now at fastergig.com. Fastergig.com. What a cool website. All right, so enough about all of our good, cool stuff going on here at the DV Show. Of course, you can visit us online at thedvshow.com. And there's all sorts of good stuff happening there as well. And let's see if the website's back up again. No, it's not, so I can't show you that. All right, so now there are so many components that go into finding work. All right, not only do you have to have the skills and experience, but you have to let others know about that creativity within you. It's not just going to come to you. If you build it, it's not going to come. If you're quiet about it, it's not going to come. If you put a fire underneath something, it's not going to show. So you need to let others know about that creativity within you. It's all about the skills and all about what you have, but you got to let people know. And I know recently we ran a poll on LinkedIn, and I wanted to know what the most important topic was in 2024 for video professionals. And most of you said you wanted to learn video editing skills. Okay, great. But part of that was also one of the selections in the poll was to network. And many of you just kind of don't really realize the power of networking and what networking can actually do for your career. Again, you got to let others know about that creativity within you, and that's hard. I mean, this week we talked about having a demo reel to show off your skills, because these are like little birdies out there that are pretty much in your favor talking about you. A demo reel is super important. And you're probably still sitting there wondering why you're not moving from the same position if you don't have a demo reel. If your demo reel is not working, you're not working. And there's other things that you need to do as well in this industry in order to get yourself to be known. And networking is so, so important. So today I have an excellent example for you. His name is Michael Brown from Seymour Mac Productions. Now he is a video professional who has really faced so much adversity. All right, talking with this guy, he's absolutely incredible. And don't forget, you can engage with me here on live. Okay, I am live on LinkedIn. This is raw, unedited stuff. So if you want to chat with me, if you want to chime in, you can come in and just say whatever you want. Ask a question. You're not interrupting me again, because this is live and I like hanging around with you guys. And this is not recorded. So just want to let you know that. So Michael's going to come on the show. He's going to come talk to us. And what he did, okay, and I really want to make a great example of Michael, because, again, he faced so much adversity. He came out of his cave and he realized that he needed to do more than just have the skills, okay? And what he did, I'm not going to tell you what he did. I want you to listen to what he did. It marked the beginning of a new professional venture that opened up so many doors for him as he decided to fully immerse himself in his passion of video production. So he started Seymour Productions in 2020. He is a successful person right now in the industry. And I say success, that can have many, many definitions, but to me, it's he's successful. And he embarked on a journey of self learning, navigating the competitive and often intimidating world of video production as a business owner. So, Michael came into the studio this morning, and here is that interview. Listen closely. This is some good stuff. So, how did we meet again? What the hell? How did this happen? I made a comment on LinkedIn or something, or
Yeah, so I kind of had a realization. Part of my goals that I set for this year, for my business and my brand, was just to engage in more conversations, right? So I used to have a podcast or two back in my day, and I've been a guest on a few podcasts recently, talking about all sorts of stuff, not just video production, religion and spirituality and ayahuasca and life lessons, entrepreneurship, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I just kind of put some feelers out there. Said, hey, anybody running a podcast? You need a guest? I don't know. Maybe I'd be a good guest. Maybe I wouldn't be. And yeah, man, happy to say you were the first and the last person to extend an invitation. So
yeah, it's pretty cool because your profile is pretty impressive. I mean, you've been in video production. At least that's what we talked about. You've been in video production for a while, and your story is pretty cool, and it's a success story in my eyes. You get out of the corporate world. This is from our last discussion. You get out from the corporate
yeah.
world and started your own video production business, which is cool. And I like the part. I like that you're networking. Like networking is important, right? You put yourself out there, and that's part of it, right? That's part of like being successful, right? I lost you.
Sorry, I had to switch my Wi-Fi network.
It's all right. It's all
I should have gave you a warning before I did it. I didn't think it was gonna
right. Yeah,
hiccup that long.
you gave me like this nasty frozen look.
Yeah,
Anyway, it's all
sorry.
good. It's all good. Yeah, no
No,
worries.
yeah. So you were saying you
Yeah.
came from the
So
corporate. Yeah.
yeah, you came from the corporate world. You started your own video production business, and I like the part that you're networking. You're getting around there, right?
Yeah,
Why is
it's
that?
it's everything. It's everything. Look, man, when I left, I was in the pharmaceutical industry for 13 years, and I kind of fell ass backwards into that job. I was doing music for a long time. That wasn't paying the bills. Doing music led me into doing video, all self-taught. We were just too broke to afford somebody to shoot a video. So I'm like, I'll figure it out. And then I was kind of the jack of all trades, doing like all these things. And then, my wife got pregnant, and I was like, well, I probably should, probably should have a steady income. So I kind of found myself in pharmaceuticals, did that for 13 years in vaccine manufacturing. And, like we could dive into that part of the story if you want, or if you don't want to, but very loosely, COVID happened, things got weird, and I just knew it wasn't for me anymore. So, that led me into going full time into my business. Now, I started my business, Seymour Mac Productions, in 2020 officially, but was only reacclimating myself to a camera when I did that because I didn't do anything for about 5 years. And, um, and then it wasn't until last year I lost my job in 2022, June of 2022, kind of like wallowed in my sorrows for way too long.
Yeah, you put that
Um,
lightly. You put that very lightly from our last conversation, but that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah, we can go into that. I have no shame in going into all that. And I think it's important to talk about. But I'm
Yeah,
trying to remember the question and then also try to get to that
yeah,
answer
yeah,
without getting too diverted.
yeah. That's good. Go
Um,
ahead.
but yeah, anyway, so this last year in 2023 was the first full year that I was in business, 100% into video production. And I had like a pretty successful year for a first year. I replaced my salary at my old job. But the networking piece of it is everything. Like I thought when I embarked on this video production journey, I was just going to be making videos 100% of my days. And it's like 80% sales and networking and outreach. And it's maybe 20% video production. So networking is a huge part of it. And, I like to have conversations. I like to have challenging conversations also, and kind of like challenge my own belief systems. And I'm always open to learning something. I am not in like what I feel is I'm not the best videographer. I'm not the best editor. There's always somebody. There's guys like you out there that are probably way better than me in certain fields. Yeah, why not have these conversations and see what I can learn? Maybe I could teach you some, but probably I'm going to learn something. So yeah, that's why I reached out and put the feelers out there.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, I've been talking about networking for a very long time, and video professionals, video editors, especially, we're nocturnal. We don't like to socialize. It's hard to do, but yet we want a video production job. We want to open up our own business, or we want work. We want to learn more. But it really starts out with that networking. I mean, wouldn't you agree that, like you said, it's 80-20 for you, 80% networking, 20% video production? And most of us don't realize that. So,
Yeah, it's a business,
yeah, it's a
right?
business first.
Yeah, it's a business. So if you are starting your own business for the first time ever, you probably are learning very quickly. Like,
Mhm.
oh shit, I made a website, but nobody's filling out my form. I put my Google business page up, but nobody's calling me. It's like, yeah, nobody knows you exist. So what are you doing to make sure that people know that you exist? Because let's face it, you're not the only video editor in town. You're not the only videographer. And especially if you're doing something like weddings, it's such a saturated market that if somebody is going to Google or Facebook and searching for a videographer to shoot their wedding, you're going to be in a very long list of people who are throwing their hat in the ring. So you have to do the networking piece, and it has to be a huge focus if you want to be successful in your own business, right? Because it is a business. It's a creative business, and we have a lot of freedoms in that realm and kind of making our own schedules. But that's also the that's also where people fall apart, is not having that structure. Because when you wake up and you go, well, I don't know, I don't really feel like sending emails out today. I'll just maybe drink a beer, smoke a joint, and I'll get to it later. And then later you never get to it. And then tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. It's like you don't have anybody breathing over your shoulder. I mean, that goes for any business if you're the owner. So you have to have a level of self-discipline that if you don't currently have going into starting your business, you're going to have to learn very, very quickly. And this has probably been my biggest focus over the last year, especially the last, we'll call it about 6 months, but I could say definitively since October 2nd, I have been on an extreme journey of discipline, self-discipline. And we can kind of talk about what that is and what
Yeah,
that
let's
means.
let's get
But
into that. Let's get into that. So, I actually want to go back a little bit and
okay.
actually, what made you all of a sudden accelerate this? Because I know, we talked, and you you lost your job pretty much, and that's a shitty feeling, right? That puts you in would put anyone in the pits, even myself, if I was to get, in the situation that you were in general. That makes you feel like shit. So, with a wife and a kid, you have a house, obviously, right?
Hmm.
you
Yep.
you you are put into a position now where, what the hell do I do? So you
Yeah.
kind of came out of that, and so bring me to that point where you got out of that and you just were like, all right, I got to really buckle down here and put the rubber to the road and get serious with this.
Yeah. So that I put on the noise canceling and then I realized I didn't like it. That was the turning point for me. Losing my job, I was there for 13 years. I enjoyed doing what I did. It was a very interesting job. In hindsight, it had to happen that way for me because I would have remained in that comfort zone until I died, or at least until I retired, whichever happened to come first. And I would have lived with some level of regret, like 65 years old, probably by the time you can retire now, maybe 70 or 75 years old,
It's 80
like
now.
sitting on my front porch, drinking my coffee, rocking in my chair, going, man, I really wish I would have did that video thing when I was
Oh,
40,
oh,
like
Jesus.
and I'm 40 years old now, so I'm kind of starting this very late in life, this embarking on this journey. But when I was losing my job, when the realization happened, and just to be transparent, I lost my job because I didn't comply with their vaccine policy. Now I worked for a vaccine manufacturer. Some would say like, yeah, duh, like of course you got to get vaccinated. But this was a new thing. I worked there for 13 years. It was never a requirement for anything. There are some areas that you worked in. If you worked in yellow fever, you would definitely want to be vaccinated for yellow fever. It's a live virus. Not to go off into the weeds here, but this was a new thing. And I think a lot of people felt it in a lot of industries that were forced to make that decision. Like, well, if you want to keep your job, you're gonna comply with this policy.
You got to
And
bend over, basically, right? You have to bend over, is how I see it.
it was a gun to the head decision. Now, the
Yeah.
easier decision for me would have been to roll my sleeve up and just do what I was told, and I would still be there. Now, maybe I'd have some, let's say, some difficulties in some health areas of my life if I would have went that route. Maybe I wouldn't have. I have friends who came out all right, and I have friends who didn't come out all right on the other side. In hindsight, I am very happy with the decision I made, even though it was one of the hardest decisions that I've ever had to make in my life because of reasons you said. I
Mm.
have a wife. She was a full-time nursing student at the time, wasn't making any money. We have a 9-year-old son at the time, was 7 years old, 8 years old. So, there was a lot on the line. I have a mortgage. I just bought a truck because I wasn't worried about money. I was making, every couple of weeks I knew how much money I was getting. So I bought a freaking new truck, and I have this $800 payment, all of these things. And I'm just like, oh shit, now I'm going to be losing this job. What do I do? Do I just comply, or do I kind of assess the risk benefits for me and just kind of do what I feel like is best for me? So ultimately, I decided not to comply with their policy. They terminated me along with at least 150 other people. And, I embarked on a journey of depression and anxiety and darkness.
Yeah.
I was probably at the lowest point in my life. I know I was at the lowest point in my life. I was numbing myself with weed. I was smoking 5 blunts a day every day, I thought I was trying to help myself here, but frankly, I wasn't. I was kind of postponing the inevitable, which was facing my situation. I was seeing a therapist. My therapist was like falling asleep in my session.
Yeah,
So
you told
like
me
not the
that. What
best
the
there.
right?
Yeah, not the best therapist to have. Maybe a different therapist would have actually been helpful. I have a therapist now that I talk to, who's great, but yeah, this other guy wasn't doing
The
his part.
hell?
Yeah, yeah. So like all of these things kind of stacked up, man. I was in a dark place. I was in a deep
Yeah,
dark hole.
it sucks.
And frankly, and I don't, we don't have to get into it too much, but the only thing that actually lifted me out of that was having a relationship with God. Ultimately, I went 38 years of my life with having a belief, but no real relationship.
Relationship, yeah, that's important.
Yeah, I was brought to my knees, so to speak. God has a funny way of working, man. He'll run you right up to a brick wall, and then right before you hit it, a door opens up.
The 11th hour God. Yep.
Yeah, and I always thought that was like a myth, just an old wives' tale. But I felt it. I felt it, and I went through a very spiritual experience. My older brother Brian had a big part to play in that. A friend of mine, John, who's now deceased, had a huge part to play in planting seeds.
Yeah.
And then when the time came to harvest, these things kind of came to fruition. But anyway,
Well,
that's how I
ultimately,
got kind of
all these things happen because ultimately he wants you to come back to him, and that's why it multiple. That's why it ultimately happens. To be honest, so all these things happen
absolutely.
to you so you can go back to him.
Yeah.
So he
Now
brings you right on the edge.
now I think like I was never there with him in the sense that I wasn't like I didn't go to church. My mother's Jewish, my father's Irish Catholic. We both hippies back in their day. So we were never raised in a religious household. It was just kind of like be free, do what you want, which I think is kind of a mistake. I would have liked some sort of structure because it really can only help. Um, unless I guess you're surrounded by the wrong priests, you know, maybe
Yeah,
there's some destruction that could happen there. But needless to say, the time was right for me to receive the message, right? I was facing my tribulations. I was now open to receive his message.
yeah,
I heard it loud and clear. I mean, I'm doing the dishes, weeping, crying, listening to like scriptures my brother was sending me,
yeah.
and I'm crying. I don't get it. I couldn't understand. I had like built up this huge wall against feeling any kind of relationship with God that now is finally peeling off. And I literally I could feel the layers peeling off.
Yeah,
And
that's
every time
cool.
I listened to a sermon or every time I spoke to somebody or every time I opened the Bible, which I wasn't doing that much at that point, it was exactly what I needed to hear in that
Hmm.
exact moment. So it was very, very helpful, right? Um, so your original question, what kind of you lost your job, how'd you decide to do video? When I left that job or when I was forced to leave that job, I applied to a bunch of other pharmaceutical jobs. I must have been blacklisted or
Yeah,
something
you're
because
blacklisted. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
I have a very good resume.
There's no doubt about it. 13
Yeah,
years and you're ranking in that company, and all of a sudden, you have this stellar resume, you getting blacklisted
yeah.
big
So either
time.
I was blacklisted or maybe just maybe God was saying, "Hey, dude, what are you doing? You're gonna go back down that road that I just
Mm,
took you off of. Like, what are you doing?" So
yeah.
there was no opportunities there arose for me, not even a single interview. Then I started applying for like video editing jobs because I was shooting weddings for my friend's company on the weekend. I was starting to do a little bit, but I wasn't very active on my own business. And and then none of those panned out. I must have applied to 70 video editing jobs. I had
Oh,
a couple
wow.
interviews, but not. I interviewed for this one company in Manhattan. I won't say the name, but looking back, they're like a very how do I say this nicely or appropriately? They're like a very woke company, but I had 5 interviews with them, and I'm thinking, there's no way you do 5 interviews and you don't get the job. There's
Yeah,
no
huh?
freaking way.
So what
Yeah,
happened?
and every
Why was that?
they said they went with a better candidate, which they probably did because my portfolio at that time was pretty weak.
Yeah.
But I did have very good conversations with them. I don't know if maybe they saw some of my social media posts from back in the day. Maybe they didn't align with their
You
political
scared
belief
him away,
systems.
Mike. You scared him away.
Yeah, well, you know what? I left a multinational conglomerate which had a very heavy focus on DEI and ESG and
Mm,
kind of that woke corporatism. And I saw what it did to the morale. I saw what it did to productivity. Um, I lived in it for a decade, over a decade. And one of my questions to this company, because I saw they were doing a lot of initiatives for all sorts of cultures and people, which is great. They were leaving out one type of person, which kind of resembles me. But my question to them was, hey, if I'm doing a really great job for you guys, is, is my potential in your company going to be based on my merit or because I happen to be born a certain skin color or gender or sexual orientation or whatever? And they did reassure me. They're like, it's all merit based. Like, you crush it, you're going to have opportunity. And that was
no
kind of like one
bias.
of the
No
things.
bias.
Yeah. Cause I told them, I was like, listen, I love all of these initiatives. I'm like, I'm all for it. I'm like, but it does give me a little sense that no matter how hard I try, because I happen to look like how I look, it's no fault of my own. I happen to be born this shade of color and melanin that I'm not going to be given the opportunities that maybe I deserve, right? If I earn them. And I had 3 interviews after that question. So I was like, okay, they got it. They felt the sincerity in my voice, but ultimately nothing panned out. This is a very
Ah,
long explanation for me to tell you that it became clear to me in the end of all of this. This was over the course of a few months that I needed to take a leap of faith in myself.
yeah.
And I was kind of pussyfooting with it a little bit, like maybe I'll just do my own business thing. But I had no clients. I had no reason to believe that I could just start a video production company and be successful.
It sounds like you
And
were being led that way, though. You had a lot of roadblocks. So let me go back to this for a
yeah,
second. So
yeah, yeah.
what you just told me about that is, it's not about your skills. I mean, even though you said you were just kind of starting out, You had 5 interviews. That's pretty huge. So it's not all about your skills. This is what I'm hearing. And not all about your skills. It's about that culture fit as well. Right. So
Yes.
you gotta fit a lot of, you gotta check mark a lot of boxes in order to get a job. But your skills, obviously, you even said it likely didn't get you in the door for all those interviews. It was something
Mhm.
else. So now culture fit didn't really pan out, which now is another block for you to enter into your solo career, which is what you're about to get into now.
Yeah. And this ties into the networking piece, right? Because
Yeah.
it kind of goes to show you that you don't have to be the most highly skilled, but if you can resonate with somebody, they'll probably work with you. And that is that networking piece. That's the piece that I feel a lot of guys and girls and others in our industry are missing. And they don't really get it. They don't
Hmm.
get it because, like you said, if especially if you're an editor, oh, you don't want to open the shades. You don't want to leave the house if you don't have to. Imagine having to cold call somebody and convince them that they need your service when they don't know who you are and they don't even know that they need your service yet.
Yeah. You have no clue. Yeah.
It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. And that's coming from somebody who enjoys having conversations with people. And I feel like I can talk to most people pretty openly. And it's terrifying for me. So you put that onto somebody who's kind of scared to have those interactions with people, and maybe they just don't believe in themselves that much. It's debilitating, and
Yeah.
that will be the detriment to the success of your business, right?
Yeah.
So,
Which kind of sucks because I mean, if you think about it, I'm just gonna kind of interject there. I
yep,
mean, let's say our personality it doesn't jive with our personality. So does that mean we're never going to be successful, in the video production industry, video editor, whoever, because of our personality? I don't want to I don't want to say, well, you know what, you got to network. I mean, networking is important, but it's almost like, throwing vinegar on a wound. It's like, I can't network. I can't. So it's like, what do you do? Like,
yeah.
how do you get successful? I mean, you just kind of suck it up. I mean, what's the
Well,
answer?
yeah. I mean, the harsh David Goggins answer is "fuck your feelings, suck it up."
Yes, exactly.
The nice, soft Tony Robbins answer is what you just said. Well, I can't network. I'm an introvert. I'm shy. You're telling yourself that. And every time you say it, it creates that person. So yeah, you may be a quote unquote introvert. You may be a little fucking socially awkward. And chances are, if you're in this industry, you probably are.
Hmm. I
But you
was
need
for a
to,
long time.
and I as well. And you have to, first of all, embrace your weirdness. And I feel like once you embrace who you actually are, like as just like a weird person, and then you just kind of are cool with that with other people, they also kind of tend to accept that as well. I mean, there is a hard line of awkward and weirdness that most people won't be willing to accept. Like if you're wearing your underwear on the outside of your pants instead of the inside of your pants, yeah, you're probably not going to get the job no
Yeah,
matter how many people
you
you
gotta
talk to.
you gotta package it to be acceptable, unfortunately,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but you do have to push through it and you have to figure out a way. Now, expectations. If
This has got
your
to be
goal,
said, Michael. I'm going to interrupt you. This has got to be
yes,
said. It's got to be said. It sounds mean, but it's got to be said. You want to be successful in this industry, you got to be an extrovert to some extent. And if it takes you to learn, take classes, learn it, get out there, kill your shyness. You have to do it. And it
yeah,
has to be
yeah,
said. This may seem harsh to listeners, viewers, but in order to be successful, you gotta get out there. Other people make you successful. It's not just you on an island.
absolutely. And yeah, I mean, people are going to have to like you. Now, you don't have to be a fake person.
Right.
People will like you if you're not fake. That's what I found, even in the corporate world. The reason why I was as successful as I was I was a hard worker. I wasn't before that job. Something clicked for me. I don't know, maybe having a kid and a wife or a girlfriend at the time that I really loved, but something clicked for me, and I really did try hard to um, do a good job there. But my honesty and my transparency, especially with the higher ups, we're talking the site leadership, I would hear on a pretty frequent basis, like, hey man, I really appreciate the fact that you are not putting on like you're not a yes man. You're not putting on a facade for me. Like I could tell that who you are here talking to me is who you are when you're talking to people on your level or your friends or whatever. And I think that's really important. But there's expectations when it comes to what level of success that you're looking for. If you're planning on running your own business, yeah, exactly what you said. You are going to have to suck it up. You're going to have to figure it out and you are going to have to put yourself out there. You will still need a certain level of that if your goal is to be a what do they call it? Like an entrepreneur where you're working for another company. Maybe you're not interested in building your own business, but you want to be an editor at a company where there's a lot of opportunity. You still have to get the job, right? You don't have to be as, out there, but you still have to get the job. And in my experience doing interviewing and then being the interviewer, the people who resonated with us, but their resume kind of sucked, they wound up getting the job because we were like, hey, they're a good fit. Like we could
Yeah.
teach them. We
Mhm.
could teach them all the procedure stuff,
Yeah.
but you can't necessarily teach somebody how to be cool. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
either they're cool or they're not. So it's like if they're a good fit, then you're more likely to kind of like give them a shot, right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, you got to figure it out. You got to go do some networking. You got to go to some coffee, business coffee meetings, join a BNI, fucking, I don't know, man. Just
You
go to
just
it,
gotta
go
network. You
anywhere.
gotta get your ass out there. That's what
Just,
I say. Get your ass
yeah.
out there, to be honest.
If
I
you,
mean,
if you're
seriously.
terrified of talking to people, just you're like, you don't even have to try to sell yourself. How about the next time you're in the line for Walmart, you strike up a little conversation with the person behind you?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Start
Exactly.
small. Just start talking to people
Talk to
because
dogs if you have to too, I mean, talk to animals. Talk.
they're
Just
good
talk.
listeners. They're really good listeners. My dog, if he could talk, man,
Yeah, I don't
I'd
mean
be
to
out of the house.
I don't mean to I don't want to say that we're better than anybody else, right? We're just saying that this is what it takes in this industry to step it up. This is what it
Yes.
takes in this industry. And I wanted to say to be successful because that definition can be so vast. But
Yeah.
in order to get ahead and to grow, you got to kind of open up a little bit. And I have to admit, I was that geeky kid in high school. I was this like, hey, you know what? The girls are going to check me out because I have Video Maker magazine in my notebook. But no, that's not the case. You got to get out there. You got to make people, you got to be likable. And I'm not saying, transform your entire personality, which, it is impossible because this is who you were made to be. I'm just saying, just get your butt out there. And that's what you realized, in your networking, and this is what you're doing. Oh, I think that struck a chord with some of you. Oh, that was some strong stuff that we were talking about. But like I said, I think it needs to be talked about. I mean, hey, you know what? I'm not better than you. There's no one better than you. There's no one better than you. You are who you were made to be. And I just, in this industry, I see so many people who are, they want to get ahead. They want to get out of the hole that they're in, but you got to take that next step. You got to put that foot right in front of the other and do something different. And Michael is a prime example of someone who just got out of it, swam to the top, and is getting air again while he still swims. It's not easy up there. It's not easy at the surface, but he's doing it. So that needed to be said. Networking is so important in this industry, especially video editors. I know so many of you, and I love all of you. And if you want to get ahead and enhance your career, networking is super important. Talking to people is super, super important. Super important. All right. Well, there's another edition of the DB Show Live. Thank you so much for joining me today. We have a chat. Let me guess. Johnny is back. Johnny is watching every day, man. Johnny D, you are the man. Thank you for watching every single day. Every single time he's telling me it's a good show. So I hope it's been a good show. And I hope it's been a good show for you. You can check us out at thedbshow.com. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can also contact me at thedvshow.com/Brian. Now, keep in mind, this is a podcast that is totally powered by you. Now, I know video production is not for everyone. It can be overwhelming, time-consuming, intimidating, technical, and you're saving hours of time and money with our advice because we know what works. We know what's going on. So when it comes to video production, all week long, the topic is finding work in video production. Tomorrow's topic we're going to get into under that topic is demo reels, more demo reels, and we're going to be looking at networking tools for video professionals. Join us for the rest of the week because I know you're having a hard time finding work. That's why we are here. One of the reasons, at least. Thanks for joining me again. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. See you then.
Video production just got easier. The DV Show.